There has never been a generation in history that has gone on as few dates and been in as few relationships as Gen Z. Far fewer of us are getting married or even hooking up than ever recorded in American history. However, this is much more true for Gen Z men. 2/3 of Gen Z men report being single, but only 1/3 of Gen Z women report being single. How is this possible? Are 2/3 of women just dating the same third of Gen Z guys? Yes. Or they're dating even older guys, because until the age of 50, women are more frequently in relationships than single. But after the age of 50, men are more frequently in relationships than single. And this is because oftentimes older men date younger women, meaning most older men are in relationships and so are most younger women. So this has created the highest proportion of single young men in human history. The share of young men who have not had sex in the last year has skyrocketed, whereas it's stayed the same for women. So what's really going on here? Well, I want you to take a closer look at that graph. Men and women basically have the same level of sexual activity until 2010, and they're growing further and further apart, culminating in 2018. What came out in 2010? Instagram. And what came out in 2018? TikTok. So to really understand this data, we have to think about what men and women want from relationships. And of course, we all want many things from relationships, but generally, men are more eager to initiate a sexual relationship, and women are quicker to initiate a personal connection. And in case there's any doubt, gay men have the highest number of sexual partners, and gay women have the least sex. So theoretically, if men could get sex in a place other than women, and women could get attention and personal connection other than with men, they both might start doing that. And that's exactly what we're seeing now. Social media has given every young guy access to endless pornography since they're like 12 years old. And young girls have gotten attention and friends and male admirers more than they could ever imagine just by starting a TikTok account. So if men are getting a simulacrum of what they want, and so are women, and asking a girl out can be really nerve-wracking, and going on a date with a guy can be really dangerous, Gen Z men and women have increasingly decided that starting an actual relationship with an actual member of Gen Z is just not worth it. And if you don't believe me, the statistics bear this out. Men are far more likely to be addicted to pornography, and women are far more likely to be addicted to social media. 87% of men watch porn at least weekly? Whoa. And let's just say my brothers Nikki and Dickie have the male problem, and my sister Dawn struggles with social media. I'm sorry, that was too far. So that explains why relationships are at an all-time low. But it doesn't explain why relationships are extra low for men. And the answer is that women have always dated guys who are more successful than they are. For example, 5 times as many women as men say they wouldn't date someone who makes less money than them. And since for the first time in human history, women are out-earning men, out-graduating men, and achieving more positions of leadership, there are fewer and fewer men that women are attracted to, because there are fewer men doing better than women. And then you couple that with men, either rationally or irrationally, being afraid to ask out a woman because they don't want to be accused as a predator. You create the perfect storm for nobody to ever date again, and for even fewer men. Numerous studies have demonstrated that when pornography is introduced into a neighborhood with high sexual violence rates, those rates of violence fall, empirically demonstrating that pornography can be a substitute for sexual urges. But even with so much pornography, there are a lot of guys who do want to get girlfriends, but feel like all the girls around them are dating older, more successful guys, and that they have nothing to offer. So, enter Pflugfelder. Looks maxing has become so popular because guys have tried to think of a new way to win over girls. If they can't be as successful as older guys, maybe girls will date them if they're attractive enough. Historically, it's been women who've tried to seem attractive to win over men, but now that women are more successful than men, men are trying to seem beautiful to women. And this is not my speculation. If you listen to anything Pflugfelder says, he'll basically tell you this, that he had terrible social skills, that he didn't know how to get a girlfriend, that he had no idea what love is, and initially he wasn't rich and famous. So he read a bunch of stories on Reddit that said if you're more physically attractive, girls like you more, you make more money, people treat you with more respect. So in a very autistic way, he decided that's exactly what I'm going to maximize.
All of these different studies that I'm referencing from like online dating apps or, stuff with looks correlating to higher average incomes, and decide, oh, it makes sense for me to dedicate my time to looks maxing because you calculate the ROI.
I assume that was a common one, but have people asked you what you think love is?
No. I would give a more like scientific answer and talk about like pair bonding and brain chemistry. So, but in terms of defining love as like an intangible thing, that would be a little bit more difficult because it's just not how I think about things.
Pflugfelder is a boy who uses his intellect as inch-thick rubber gloves. He wears them whenever he has to handle the world, to protect himself from anything raw or real. But the problem with rubber gloves is that after a while you forget that you're wearing them. So he walks away from every encounter believing that the world is made of plastic.
Do you think that I'm doing this shit as a fucking form of entertainment when I have to stay up for 3 days in a row, high on crystal meth, right? Trying to suppress my appetite and get hollow cheeks.
I'd say the average person that you meet who's like an enjoyer of sports, who drinks beer, for example, you know, let's go have a beer at the pub and watch Sunday football. Like, that's the worst thing that you could do. Like, you should be on PubMed reading various different studies on how you could look smacks.
You don't think there's any value in like social interactions with people?
I wouldn't say people in general.
And now let me ask you a question. Why did incel and looksmaxing and hypergamy and subhuman become mainstream language in the last couple years? That kind of language always existed on like a corner of the internet. Why has it become so popular now? Because so many people, especially, but not only guys, relate to it. It's been forced into the mainstream by sheer numbers. And what's so dangerous about this for guys is looksmaxing makes women their entire raison d'etre. It makes them live, ironically, for the female gaze. And so guys are constantly thinking about how to win over women, whether they're incels or pickup artists, and they don't cultivate their own passions. And no girlfriend's gonna wanna be with you if your entire life is just about getting a girlfriend. I really mean this. Pflugfelder seems like many things, but happy isn't one of them.
I would give a more like scientific answer.
And here's a question that I'd like to ask every looksmaxer and you watching this right now. Would you rather have the guarantee of being truly happy or being really attractive? If there's any hesitation in your answer, I fear we have gone horribly wrong. And here's an additional reason nobody's talking about why guys have become so focused on their looks recently. A majority, which is crazy, but a literal majority of relationships now begin on dating apps. And what's the only thing anyone cares about in a dating profile? Obviously, it's your photos. It's not that you like Sharknado 3 or that you think Jack could have lived. And obviously, women are always going to win out in a domain dominated by photos. Because guys just think women are more attractive on average. While 50% of men rate 50% of women as above average in attractiveness, women literally only rate 20% of men as being in the top 50% of attractiveness. That's some girl math right there. In the past, when men and women met at the workplace, you could get to know each other. It wasn't all about looks. The guy could try to impress the girl with inside jokes like on The Office, or by being a leader at work. Now to impress a girl, you have to show her 5 photos where you're mogging harder than every other guy on Hinge, which is just like a sign of the end times. Oh my gosh. If you told our ancestors that's how we're meeting each other now, they'd say, you know what, we're just not gonna have kids then. And something that I think confirms what I'm saying is that couples who meet offline are significantly happier than ones who met online. For a completely unrelated topic, I was listening to this sociologist give a speech from the 1990s, and during the Q&A, someone stood up and said that his job instituted a new dystopian rule, that if anyone from the office sees any 2 employees outside of work on a date, they have to report them to HR. And the man exclaimed, what is this, East Germany? Why do I have to spy on behalf of, like, the Office Depot Corporation? And I was just laughing to myself, because if you thought HR was bad then, you have no idea what it is like now. In my college sexual harassment orientation, the sophomore literally taught us that any kiss, even between a married couple, that isn't verbally assented to beforehand is sexual harassment. So I asked them, does that mean if a wife kisses her husband as he goes off to work, is that sexual harassment? And she said, yeah. So, since there are no more third spaces, since guys increasingly don't go to university, since we don't attend church and bowling alleys and movie theaters are dying, one of the few places men and women still meet each other is at the office. But if you go on a date and it goes wrong, or you go on a date and you just don't like the other person, you can totally tank your career or get in trouble with HR. So we go back onto the apps and we try to impress each other more and more with our 5 Hinge photos, and we're increasingly living for the digital world rather than the digital world serving the real world. Does that make sense? Let me explain that. When YouTube debuted in 2005, what was its slogan? Broadcast yourself. Show us something you're doing in the real world so everyone can see it. Which is why the first YouTube videos were a guy at the zoo or someone showing the evolution of dance. Well, YouTube has since gotten rid of the slogan broadcast yourself, and now people are basing their real life around YouTube videos. Basically, all the new slang in the world originates on social media, and you have people like me who orient their real life around making YouTube videos. All of business and news, it all happens online. I saw a recent Reddit post that was stupid but indicative that said being chronically online is an advantage in the modern world. The real world has become the handmaiden to the online world. But the online world was never supposed to be anything more than a way to explore the real world. We've put the ultimate cart before the ultimate horse. It's well known among psychologists that one of the most important psychological stabilizers anyone can have is friends. Friends who help orient you when you start to get crazy ideas. Friends keep you in touch with reality. This is why all of the craziest minds in history were loners. And I can't think of anything that does the opposite of what friends do more than social media and ChatGPT. Bots that just agree with you and show you the same kinds of videos that you want to see over and over. The real world's not like that. The real world is varied. People are varied. People are complex and contradictory. That's what makes relationships so tough, but that's also why they're so worth it. When C.S. Lewis lost his wife, he talked about how hard it was for him to remember the real her, and not just his idea of her. He wrote, "All reality is iconoclastic. The earthly beloved, even in this life, incessantly triumphs over your mere idea of her. And you want her to. You want her, with all her resistances, all her faults, all her unexpectedness. That is, in her foursquare and independent reality. And this, not any image or memory, is what we are to love still after she is dead." But social media is only the image of things and not the real things. Just to take a trivial example, online there's the left and the right, but nobody you know has 100% of opinions that align with the Democratic or Republican Party. Online there's boomers and Gen Z, and you can say things about boomers and Gen Z, but it's never going to be true about every individual person that you meet in your real life. And of course, online you can say men are this way and women are this way, and that might even be true, but it's never going to be wholly true for an individual man or an individual woman that you start dating. And ever since we started spending a majority of our time on social media instead of with real people, the death of relationships became inevitable. Which leads me to the biggest reason that nobody's dating anymore, which is that we've all been given the illusion of infinite choice. What's the problem with growing up rich? The problem is you always feel like you've got infinite time and money to start whatever career you want, which is why so many rich kids never pick anything and they end up overdosing when they're 32. Now apply that to dating. If you're a guy and some girl's not pretty enough for you, well, there's 1,000 girls on social media that you can stare at any time. And if you're a girl and a guy is not successful enough for you, well, there are probably 1,000 guys in your DMs who are just one swipe away. I've heard people summarize it by saying that we no longer need each other for relationships, so we only start relationships if we want each other. But I think that misunderstands human nature. Our desires are often the handmaiden of our actions. Because we're used to approving or disapproving of a potential boyfriend or girlfriend by swiping left and swiping right, we've become accustomed to dismissing whole human beings for very superficial reasons, like we didn't like their fourth photo, which makes us just as superficial in real life, where we'll dismiss someone because they looked a little weird or because they had an ick. And despite every reason not to be, there's still a lot of people in relationships because they know being with a real human being is better than being with a clanker or a social media page.
Half of Gen Z men no longer actively even trying to date. They're not even trying. And so the question is, well, why is that happening for women? Women, first off, are dating older. They want more economically and emotionally viable men, and that usually means older men. In addition, when young women are lonely, they have much better social networks. They have much stronger friend networks. Whereas guys become kind of lone wolves and kind of literally sequester from everyone and everything.
Someone commented, it feels like you have to be making $100,000 a year to afford a girlfriend now. Another guy said everything is an ick or a red flag now. And I'm with this guy. I hate the whole concept of the ick. Like, oh, if a guy drops a ping pong ball, he's an ick. And I want to say any girl who thinks of icks is not worth your time to date. But that trend has become so ubiquitous that it's probably reached every girl. But also, guys often don't take enough initiative.
Just in case you've been wondering why you don't see a lot of young women going on dates or dating around, so to speak, I'm gonna give you a play-by-play of a really common conversation that I've seen on my own phone and also on my friends' phones on apps like Hinge and stuff. So it starts out and the guy will text you and he'll be like, you know, hey, I think you're really pretty. Sometimes I don't even say that. Sometimes I just say hi, you know, and it's like, and then, you know, you'll say hi back or some sort of greeting. And if they complimented you, you'll be like, oh my gosh, thank you so much, you know, whatever. And then the guy will be like, okay, so, you know, when are you free? And then you say, oh, I'm free Friday. And he says, cool, me too. And you're like, cool. And then he'll say, okay, so what do you want to do? What did you have in mind? What are you thinking? Who are you talking to? Because it's not me. I'm not planning this fucking date, bro. Like, you are planning it. Right? This is a dating app for dates. You have to plan the date. Like, I'm not planning the date. Like, I did not text you first and say, like, hey, I think you're really cool, let's go to this place. Like, you texted me, asked what day I was free, and now for some reason you're stuck at the second step and you think that I'm going to find an event and find a restaurant to go to and find whatever and send it to you. Like, okay, princess.
Someone said if they can't plan a first date, they can't handle a relationship. And there's some truth in that. A friend of mine in college was almost dating this girl for 3 months, but he couldn't ever bring himself to like hold her hand or lean in for a kiss, so it just fizzled out. And I think a lot of guys have such little relationship experience that asking a girl out is so scary. The first time I ever asked a girl out cold was the most terrifying experience, but now it's no big deal because I've done it before. And I'll also say sometimes Gen Z girls can be too timid too.
Why is it so hard to date in Gen Z? Like, I'm pretty sure everyone in this generation is gonna end up alone. Because there was this girl that would like my story every time I posted, but in real life, she would never talk to me. So eventually, one of her friends came up to me and was like, dude, why don't you talk to Sarah? So I was like, what are you talking about? And she said, you know Sarah likes you, right? She's been trying to flirt with you for a while now. And I was like, no, she never even talks to me. But then her friend was like, yeah, but she always likes your stories. So that's how people flirt now? I just figured she thought the memes I reposted were funny. Like, how am I supposed to know that's flirting? But I understand why no one wants to talk normally to the people they like in this generation, because if you do, odds are that what you say is just gonna end up in a screenshot that the whole school will see, and then they'll make fun of you for it. Am I speaking from experience? That's not important.
And that's another important part of this. Gen Z is literally no longer dancing at clubs because they're afraid of being recorded and getting embarrassed. I don't have that fear, but it's only because I've accepted that's gonna happen anyway. I've danced goofy and had people laugh at me and yeah, whatever. And I've dealt with being in the public eye for a long time, so it might be easier for me. But no generation before Gen Z has had to so worry about being recorded all the time like we do. Like, this is gonna be controversial, but people have so often gotten canceled, even historical figures, for like things they've said in private. And to me, what you say in private to your closest friends that you might not even mean, that you might be joking around by saying, is basically the same as thought. Like, when I'm with my best friend, I want us to be able to be unfiltered. I want us to not worry about getting recorded. I want us to not worry about even saying things that we totally mean. So when people cancel someone for something they said in private to like a really close friend that they might not even have meant, to me it feels like you're canceling them for having a thought. And that's just the plot of every dystopian novel ever. But that's easy enough to say in the abstract. Let me put my cash where my ass is and give you a real example. So if you don't know who Billy Graham is, he's like one of the most famous people ever. Like, ever. He made a Gallup's list of most admired men and women more than anybody else, 61 times. He fought for civil rights with Martin Luther King. He allegedly converted 3.2 million people to Christianity. He gave speeches in the Soviet Union. He met with 7 presidents. He very prominently reached out to Catholics despite being evangelical. There's so many things you can say about this guy. So I just found it so remarkable that when a prominent Catholic YouTuber named Bishop Barron published an 8-minute video in Billy Graham's honor, 8 minutes to talk about Billy Graham's whole life, one of the things he spends like significant time on is that one time in 1972, On a private phone call, Billy Graham said Jews have too much control over the media. Is that an anti-Semitic thing to say? Yeah, probably. Is it good to say? No. But if you've lived your life in the public for 80 years and done so many things and probably said a million things in private and probably been a very big supporter of Jews and even the state of Israel, that people actually include one thing you said in a private phone call in 1972 that you never said publicly, that you even apologized for publicly, as a major part of your eulogy is so crazy to me.
The low point of Billy Graham's career was this kind of, craven acquiescence to Richard Nixon's anti-Semitic musings, which had been captured on those White House tapes. And to be fair to Billy Graham, he apologized over and over and over again for that lapse. But nevertheless, he appeared there as someone a little bit, too impressed by power and unwilling to challenge it.
What's even crazier about this is Bishop Barron publicly compares abortion to murder, and Billy Graham was publicly pro-choice, at least in certain situations. So here you have someone in Bishop Barron's eyes who's advocating murder, and still, the one negative thing you're including about him is a private comment he made on a phone call. Like, imagine if I did that. Imagine I did an 8-minute video on Charles Manson, and I mentioned for like 30 seconds, he had a diary entry in 1933 where he said he wasn't into Japanese women. like, what are we doing? So I would just ask Bishop Barron, if all of your phone calls were secretly recorded, there's no comment that people would find disagreeable? And how about if you died and I made, a sixth of your whole eulogy, one comment you made on a privately recorded phone call from literally 50 years earlier? Oh, brother. And I don't mean to attack Bishop Barron too hard. I just found that so indicative of what we think is important.
No, Grandma, we soft launched. Soft launch means that we want people to know that we're in a relationship, but that we're not ready to publicly validate the other person. No, neither of us want to make each other comfortable because that would give up our power. Yes, I'm really respectful. I just wait to respond for about 2 hours after they send something really vulnerable.
Someone said, this isn't even an exaggeration. That is correct. We should all die. Yeah, I was on a date with this girl recently, and she was like, Casey, when are you going to neg me? I was like, what? She said, Casey, when are you going to neg me? I heard you, and unfortunately, I actually knew what she meant, which is that you have to insult the girl you're dating so she likes you more, and girls have their own version of this where they don't text the guy back. So we're all trying to seem like we're not into each other, and it's working. Nobody's into each other.
9 to 5, but he barely making $1,000 a week. That's nothing.
$1,000 a week is a lot of money. I now understand why this new generation does not want to date at all. Come here, because it seems incredibly tiring, right? There's so much pressure involved. Relationships nowadays seem more transactional than they do actually romantic, right? Because $1,000 a week is actually a good amount of money. That's $4,000 a month. And for one person, that's not bad at all. Now, to sustain two people's way of living off of that, that won't work, but that shouldn't be the case in the first place, right? When it comes to relationships, you should want to date somebody that makes you feel loved, respected, and feel safe and protected, and you can build a future with, right? You should want to spend money on your partner because you want to, not because it's obligatory, because it isn't, right? In this economy, if you're looking for somebody to just pay for everything, you're not looking for a partner, you're looking for a caretaker. And I'm pretty sure if you tell anybody, hey, do you want to be in a relationship where you just pay for everything? I don't think they want to do that.
Someone said transactional instead of romantic sums up the Gen Z dating culture.
This might be a hot take, but Gen Z men and women are becoming completely incompatible, and it's the reason dating in our generation feels so broken. This is the first generation to be raised entirely by algorithms. Men and women get fed completely different feeds. A man's algorithm tells him his value is his income, his status, his physique. So he's grinding, comparing his bank account to other men online, feeling behind 24/7. The data shows that his #1 criteria in a partner is physical attractiveness. A girl's algorithm tells her to prioritize her emotional well-being, her career, her independence. She watches 100 videos about red flags and not settling. The data shows that her #1 criteria in a partner is emotional stability and kindness. So you have a guy optimizing for money and status to feel worthy of dating, and a girl optimizing for emotional safety and independence. Now, I'm not saying it's impossible to find someone who you're compatible with in this day and age, but you need to be able to agree on a core group of values to build a healthy and sustainable relationship.
Do you want to know what's amazing about that video? The comments prove his point. One of them is from a woman lamenting how bad guys are, and the other is from a guy lamenting how women only date the top guys. They're like next to each other. And like the gender war doesn't help anybody because guys are gonna date women, so we want women to be doing well, and women are gonna be dating guys, so I hope you want us to do well too. And ironically, because so few people are getting married or even dating in real life, dating shows. And wedding movies have never been more popular because Gen Z still wants a connection. We're just trying to find it now in fiction.
If Gen Z aren't dating, why are weddings everywhere in pop culture right now? TV shows, films, music videos. You might have heard of the influencer Jazz Smith, who went viral last year for live vlogging her entire wedding. She had a content spreadsheet, posted 60 videos across the weekend, and gained 100,000 new followers. Because for a generation where performing a milestone is just as important as achieving it, the wedding is acting as proof. Think about what success used to look like: the degree, the house, the stable career. With all of that quickly slipping out of reach, the wedding is absorbing the emotional weight of every milestone that was meant to come before it. And I don't think the consumption of wedding content is just entertainment anymore. It's become an emotional substitute. It's not a coincidence that dating shows like Love Island are exploding at the same time that Gen Z are dating less than ever. They grew up in a world with dating apps that delivered infinite options and zero commitment. The experience of genuine connection has become so scarce in real life that an entire generation is watching it vicariously at scale.
And a lot of guys are just giving up on dating entirely. One guy said, "Me, knowing I won't be lied to, cheated on, or manipulated again." And to that guy, I'll say, yeah, I mean, you might be. Like, I was cheated on, and it sucks. But it's so much worse to, like, never have that deep of a connection with anybody ever again. I mean, this goes back to, like, biblical level themes of, is it better to have loved and have lost than never to have loved? And that can be hard. That can be hard. And I know I try to be jovial on my videos, but that can be a really deep question. And my answer is it's better to love and have lost. Maybe that's just me. It doesn't seem like my generation tends to agree with me. A lot of girls are giving up on dating too.
Will you say that one more time, sir?
Don't tell my wife I'm here with my girlfriend.
Okay, I won't tell anyone.
Oh.
At the end, he's like, yikes. Oh. Although there's a chance that is his wife, and this is just some boomer humor.
And although there's a lot of antipathy between Gen Z men and women, the data does show it's higher for women. 72% of Gen Z men have a positive view of Gen Z women, but only 50% of Gen Z women feel the same. And when you focus on women under 25, it shrinks to 35%.
When I tell you that I have zero interest in dating ever again, I mean that. Like, there is not a single thought in the back of my mind that thinks, oh, maybe one day, or what if. Like, I've dated enough men on the spectrum of good guy to doesn't give a shit to know that they have nothing I want or need. And it's at the point where I can't even imagine myself on a date with a man because the thought of asking him how his day was makes me cringe. Like, number one, I don't care. And number two, if you tell me it was bad, I'm gonna assume you deserved it. Like, that's where my head's at.
This girl is starting to think she should lower her standards though, because she says she wouldn't even talk to the male version of herself. And here's a woman telling over 200,000 other women to never give an ugly guy a chance.
Hey queen, so just a reminder that a man would never see you and think you're ugly and take you on a date anyways. He'd never be like, maybe she'll grow on me. Maybe her personality is great. She's kind of funny. Like, maybe I'll give her a chance. No, a man would never do that. And society has never held them to that standard. Like, men are never expected to compromise your attraction for romance, but women are. Isn't that crazy? So, like, no, you should not give the ugly guy a chance. Okay, have a good day.
What she's leaving out is that guys find a much higher percentage of women pretty than women find men handsome, which is historically why men have won women through their personality and achievements over their looks. But she's advocating women only date on looks, and guys have taken that message and created looks maxing.
A recent study just came out, and it said that most men today are more compatible with other men. No, I am not coming for your sexuality or calling you gay. Based on your education level, your emotional intelligence, your income level, your communication skills, you are more compatible with your bros than you are with the woman that you want. It went on to say that women are dominating in these 4 key areas, and it's affecting the entire dating market. My goal is not to bash you, bro. My goal is to just bring you awareness so you know what you up against. First and most obvious one is financial independence. Biologically, historically, bro, women mate across and up. This means that they date men who do better than them in life. The reason is because women, they risk their bodies, their health, risk their independence, their life to have kids and to raise a family. And in order to make up for that, they want to date men that they know can provide for that family. Now the women are doing better than the men financially. So they're not dating for survival anymore. They're not dating for family and shit anymore. They're dating men who can bring or provide an upgrade to their life because they don't need to bank on men for finance anymore. The second area they're dominating in is education. The average woman reads about 15 books per year. The average man reads less than 7. Now, this is deeper than some fucking books. It is simply an indication that the knowledge and education gap is growing. And now conversations aren't even intriguing. You get on that date, you get on that phone call, you have nothing to talk about. If you can't stimulate a woman's mind, you will never get to her physical. The third area is emotional intelligence. This is probably the biggest one, fellas. And it is so bad that there's this proposal called Red Shirt the Boys. Scientific evidence backs the idea that delaying when boys start school could improve academic and developmental outcomes. Basically, they want to keep all the young boys back a year or two just to keep up with women. Let that sink in. And then the fourth, and this one is obvious, but just health and self-care. Women on average go to the doctor more, typically take care of their skin and their bodies more, and just overall prioritize their health and their well-being more. Now, for the men that got even a little bit of money, a little bit of emotional intelligence, go to the gym and take care of themselves, the dating pool is vast for us. This shit is easy. The competition is super low, fellas.
That's true. The competition is low, so get out there, guys. But no matter what anyone says, guys and girls want to date each other. This girl says she tried to swear off men, but then she found the love of her life.
Unfortunate news for the girlies. I did meet the love of my life when I least expected it. Unfortunately, I met the man in my dreams right after I decentered men. Right as soon as I decided that I was totally okay never dating again. And mind you, we met organically, not through a dating app. And what's even more insane is we met at a bookstore. Barnes & Noble, to be specific. I'm sick and I'm disgusted and I'm sorry you have to hear the news like this.
And the comments are from other girls who tried to decenter men, saying, "I'm so happy for you, I'm not even slightly jealous." Girl, whatever. I think this TikTok captures it well. Relationships are hard, so it's no surprise we're giving them up for something that's so much easier and so much worse, like social media. Some women are posting that it's chic to call off your engagement, chic to leave your boyfriend, chic to end your bloodline. Okay, not the most optimistic message.
We please normalize intimacy without commitment.
No. Let's not.
Someone asked, what are you talking about? It already is normalized.
That's what I'm saying. Whatever happened to hello? Listen, let me take you to dinner. Can I take you out for a date? Now it's like, come chill. Like, who raised these boys?
And this Instagram reel has gone viral, but there are some problems with what the guy says.
Woman in her 30s who doesn't have romantic love, it's like the greatest tragedy ever. You know, poor Lisa never found romantic love, and now she's in her 40s and she has cats. What a tragedy. Guess what? Lisa's just fine. All of the research shows the following. Men need and benefit from relationships much more than women. Widows are happier after their husband dies. True. This is true. Women do live longer in relationships. They live 2 to 4 years longer. Men live 4 to 7 years longer. If a man hasn't cohabitated with a woman or been married by the time he's 30, there's a 1 in 3 chance he'll be a substance abuser. When women don't have a romantic relationship, oftentimes pour a lot of that energy back into their friend network and their professional lives. When men don't have a relationship, they pour a lot of that energy back into online content, nationalism, misogyny, anti-immigration. They start blaming other people for their problems. In my 20s, 30s, and even into my 40s, I didn't want to get married, I didn't want to have kids. Everything was about more. No matter how much money, I want more money. Just never quite sated. And the only time I have ever felt sated is when I'm with my boys and my partner and we're all on the couch, or I know they're safe, I know they're protected, I know they're loved. It's the only time I've ever had a moment where I thought, okay, I get it. This is it. This is enough. It is the most unexpected means of finding purpose and meaning in my life.
Yeah, first of all, some people were commenting this guy always talks about how hot other women are, and he's divorced himself to marry a woman 2 decades younger than him. That doesn't necessarily invalidate what he has to say, but I do find it worrying that he doesn't view marriage as mutually beneficial. Like, if I really believed what he said, that women are happier when their husbands die, because that's literally what he says, I would not feel right about marrying a woman. Maybe I'd go gay. And he's wrong too. He's referencing a 2016 study from Italy that looked at 1,000 women that found widows were 23% less likely to become frail. Not that they were happier. But multiple studies show married women live longer, as he admits that women with older husbands have the lowest mortality rate, that women in good marriages have much lower rates of cardiovascular disease, that married women have lower rates of depression, and that men and women are both happier and live longer when they get married by 17 points. And Scott, if you really want to play that game, you can just as easily do it with men. Single mothers fare far worse than single fathers. Widows are poorer than widowers. And according to national survey results, married women are much happier. Guess what? At higher rates than for men. But we don't need to play this game because when you don't cherry pick data, it's clear that having good relationships and having people who care about you is better for everybody. That's just common sense, I fear. And it almost makes me think, like, if you really believe that marriage is a terrible thing to impose on women, why are you married to one? You're a bad person. You should get divorced immediately.
Men fall in love with what they see. Women fall in love with what they hear. Which is why women will always wear makeup and men will always lie.
Oh, man.
This girl has clearly just been through a breakup.
Oh, you want to know another absolutely disgusting secret about men?
No. I think we're good. We got enough of those.
Fair enough, and I know this might be controversial, and it definitely doesn't apply when you're single, but I definitely think this guy has the right attitude when you get married.
I married my wife. I said, okay, honey, I'm going to make you a promise. I know you want me to promise to be virtuous to you and fidelitous, but I'm going to go further. I'm going to make a promise that I'm going to do everything in my power to train myself, my mind, my brain, to not look at other women. There's some people out there like, you can look at the menu. Right. I'm like, you only look at the menu if you're hungry. And at some point, it's a gateway choice that's going to get you in trouble. And so I just made a decision for myself. If you're looking, that's the first step. That's the antecedent to winding up in a spot that you don't want to find yourself in. So I love this idea of the Nike opposite, which is just like, have a little bit of common sense in a world that doesn't seem to have a lot to say, hey, where can choices lead? And if it can lead you where you don't want to be, maybe don't make the choice in the first place.
Yeah, why are you looking at the menu if you're not going to order any other food?
Men don't marry the love of their lives. That's something that women do. Men marry the woman who is there when they're ready. This one's gonna sting, but let's be honest. Men don't marry for magic. They marry for timing. Women fall when it feels right. Men commit when it makes the most sense. I'm not saying we don't love deep. We just don't lock in until our foundation's built. Because real men know love without structure is a liability. You could be the perfect woman. Soft, supportive, aligned in every way. But if he's 24 years old, broke, and still figuring himself out, he's not choosing forever. He's choosing survival. That's why he circles back at 34, more stable, more sure. Suddenly she's the one. It was never her to begin with. It was him, his readiness, his clarity, his nervous system finally saying, I can carry this. So if you're waiting on a man to wake up, you might be mistaking chemistry for capacity, because men don't marry the love of their life. They marry when their life can hold love and everything that comes with it.
That video made some decent points, but it sounded too much like ChatGPT for me to take seriously. You might be mistaking chemistry for capacity.
You wanna know why I'm so aggressive? I'm always in my masculine energy? It's because you are always a bitch. You always in your feminine energy. So I can't be in my feminine energy because I gotta be here holding it the fuck down for the both of us. That's why.
Oof. Ouch. Listen, masculine energy in a woman, it's a response. When she feels like she has to constantly lead, initiate, organize, decide, she adapts. And then men will call her aggressive, controlling, argumentative. No, bro. She's just tired. If you want her feminine energy to thrive, handle your shit so she doesn't have to survive.
Just a word of advice, you don't really help the case that you're not in your feminine energy if you react like this.
What is the most childish reason you cut off a man? He has an IG highlight named Face Corn. He told me he doesn't chase women. I told him, okay, go find your man. He called me bougie for putting on lotion. He used this emoji in every He told me he's a rapper at 41. Ain't no way. Spelled audacity is order city. Come pick me up. Blocked. Woke up one morning and looked at him and said, knock. He called me big money because I paid for it. He asked me, how's my day so far? At 8 a.m. If their last name is ugly or weird, I do not want that for my futures. He bought a ring light for TikTok. Complaining about how much he spent on dates I didn't even ask for. Okay. His friend had a turtleneck. He was so excited to talk about
He was walking sneaky. Please explain. No future plans. Said he'll go wherever life
Some of those are pretty bad. Bald Shia LaBeouf has an interesting story of his own to tell.
That girl will leave you, bro. She may love you more than anything in the world, but if she outgrows you, she will tear her own heart in two to walk away from you. Ask me how I know. Look, I can laugh about it now. I wasn't laughing about it then. Your boy was sick. Listen, I was in my early 20s, like fresh out of teenage years. I was dating this girl. We've been dating a long time. She was absolutely crazy about me, man. Crazy about me. She had a really good career. She had goals. She had a certain type of life in mind that she wanted. I wasn't exactly the man that was going to, or I wasn't the kid that was going to amount to someone that could help her produce that dream. I just laid around, smoked pot all day, and I guess because I thought that I wasn't treating her wrong, that I was treating her right. Fellas, just because you ain't treating a girl wrong, don't mean you're treating her right. I wouldn't take her out, didn't really date her. Man, but because she was so crazy about me, I thought, oh, she ain't going nowhere. Well, this girl ain't going nowhere. She's crazy about me. Well, guess where she went? Somewhere. And and hey, if that happens to you, boy, you cry, you want to, baby, come back. She ain't coming back, bro. And you about to see her with somebody else. Oh my God. Oh, I don't miss them days. Look, fellas, if you got a good woman, you better become a man that's worth hanging around for, because she will leave you if she outgrows you. Man, I don't miss them days. They tried to tell me them was the best days of my life. I don't think so. Best days of my life are now, and I'm a man worth being with. Got a beautiful wife at home that I love so much, and that loves me.
Well, listen to what Steve Harvey said. That split the internet in half.
All of my friends are men. I don't have female friends. I don't. I'm incapable of that.
Why? What do you mean?
Well, because, you know, come on.
Because you have a wife.
Well, I have a wife, and I don't really have female friends because, look, you're an attractive woman. There are some guys somewhere saying, yeah, we're friends. No, that's not true. He's your friend only because you have made it absolutely clear that nothing else is happening except this friendship we have. We remain your friends in hopes that one day there'll be a crack in the door, a chink in the armor, and trust and believe that guy that you think is just your buddy, he will slide in that crack the moment he gets the opportunity.
And you think most men think this way?
99.9% of us think that.
But one definite difference between men and women is that women check in on their friendships much more.
Hey, Scott. What's up? Sorry, do you know where Cooper is? No. Have you heard from him? I think he sent me a TikTok yesterday. Why? It's just he hasn't been home in like 3 days. Yeah, he's probably just at his parents' or girlfriend's house. Are we confident he's alive? Dude, he's fine. You can text him if you're worried. Okay, I'm just gonna text him. He says he's fine. And he also asked me why I'm asking. Who? Cooper. I was just checking on him because he hasn't been home in a couple of days. Oh yeah, I guess he hasn't. Well, so you guys just go missing for several days and nobody worries or even really notices? Yeah, it's not a big deal. People got lives. I don't know. I don't want to be overbearing. Days is busier than other days. I'm not going to judge.
And something I haven't even mentioned is that the economy has made getting married feel almost unaffordable.
I would love to be a stay-at-home mom. I would love to be a homemaker and a wife. I would love to be able to live on a homestead and go milk my cow and take the eggs out of the chicken coop and have one baby in the belly and on my hip and another toddler coming behind me. That's like my dream, but I can't do that because the way the economy is set up is I'm forced to work. I'm forced to get an education, a higher education, a college degree in order to make enough money that I can be financially independent and afford my own home or my own rent or my own gas or my own groceries, my own insurance. And it's extremely difficult to do that. And it's very isolating as a woman when you have to do all of that all on your own and you can't find somebody that you can outsource some of those chores and financial responsibilities like you would with a spouse. So no, being a single working woman absolutely sucks. It's the worst thing ever. I hate it. I would go back to the 1950s in a second just so I wouldn't have to deal with this shit.
The good news is, the cheaper your wedding, the less likely you are to get divorced.
I'm going on a date with a woman who makes more money than me. And she told me to pick a place that I can't afford and she's gonna pay the bill. We're hitting the grocery store.
But this woman gave a very controversial take of her own.
I might get a lot of hate for this, but I have said it before and I will say it again. Men were taught their entire life how to treat a woman, but not what to expect from a woman. A woman was taught her entire life what to expect from a man, but not how to treat a man.
One woman complained the opposite is true. Women were taught to expect to cook and clean. But this TikTok demonstrates what I've been saying this whole video.
How to lose a guy in 10 days. Show interest. Be honest. Tell him how you
guy and girl in Gen Z feels like if they show interest in the person they're dating, they lose power. So no one shows interest, everyone loses power, and nobody's dating. Great job, us. And now that all of Gen Z dates on dating apps, women are always gonna get way more matches than any guy does.
We made a fake profile on Tinder of just an average-looking girl.
Yeah.
Just average, like nothing special. And we started just swiping on every guy. After an hour, everyone was a match. He was like, match, 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 match. And his phone started getting so many notifications of matches and messages that his phone started overheating and then wouldn't turn on.
Yeah.
It probably got up to a point of like 800 or 900 matches before the profile was shut down.
Wow, and that's an average-looking woman.
And
So
she was
imagine
average.
like an attractive-looking woman. I had a client who told me he used a photo of a tree as the first photo and still got like hundreds of matches.
That is crazy. So will Gen Z finally decide to tell their crushes they like them? Or are we all just cooked and we'll have to date a robot? Are you dating someone, or have you sworn off dating men or women? Or are you married and you have some advice for us Zoomers? I'll respond to as many comments as I can, so let me know. And thank you to our amazing patrons: Papa Cameras, I'm Kitty, Magnus, Jake, and Jase, Lavender, Quebec, Avery, Gerard, Pflugfelder, Love, Wendy, Pine, Eli, Sylvie, Caroline, Alex, Planet, Zach, Austin, Nepton, Coco, Drake, C, Jenny, Bess, Michael, J, Sal, Sonder, Kelly, Dylan, Brett, Ari, V, Guy, Bond, Doge, Lan, Eding, Job, Angel, Rachel, Ariel, Viper, Ava, Alex, Comfort, Buffy, Marshall, Christina, Brandy, Odell, Jackson, Ellen, Caroline, Woody, Kelp, Tiano, Ree, Aaron, Addie, Soka, Knight, Sears, Alan, Random, Ms. Lemon, Rebecca the Great, Simple, She, Aaron, and welcome to Connor, Tate, Gasm. One breath. You guys are awesome. I'll head over to Patreon now. Thanks for watching.